Welcome to part 3 of the Flying Geese Pink Easter Sewing Extravaganza. We left it then, didn't we, with all the individual goose blocks beautifully pressed, trimmed up, all ready in their groups of 4 to be sewn together into units that look like this. So that's what I've been doing this morning, sewing all of these units of 4 together. Now, one of the things I mentioned, I think, maybe I did, I'll mention it again. I really want to be careful not to lose the tip of the goose, the apex of the triangle, into the one above it. And the way that I do that, look at that. Can you see that? I wonder if that's a good one to see. So we see the cross shape that these 2 lines of sewing make here. And then the important thing when we're sewing this together is to sew this side of the cross. It's called the magic X. And we need to sew so that the sewing line is just above that X there. So that when you open it out, you can see that the tip of the apex of the triangle is underneath the line of sewing. It's quite straightforward. You just have to put the trimmed pieces together and then be very careful when you're sewing not to go that side of the X, but to go this side of the X. And then all your geese will have their little tips on them. So I'm just going to iron these now, so I'll just put us back over there. The snow's still outside. It's horrible. I'm ignoring it. I'm sewing and doing colourful things inside. And there's some lovely ones coming through here. Really, really like them. So I'm just going to carry on and do that. The next job, once we've got this huge pile of, there'll be 50, won't there? Yeah, there's going to be 50 of these units. And then we're going to have fun on the design board, designing them. So that's going to be the next thing that we do. So I will press these like that, and then we'll play with them on the design board later. This Easter, with the snow, this has been the only thing that it's been possible to do. Colour, stay warm indoors, do what I love to do. Straightforward. There we go. So I'll finish these. And I'll see you over on the design board. When I start to pin these up, I just sling them up any old where. I don't really think very hard about where I'm placing them. Then I step back and photograph them in that layout so that I can have a look at them. But the best thing then is that I then turn that photograph into a black and white grayscale. And this shows me where any over dark or over light spots are. Then I laid them all out again, this time with the geese flying up, geese flying down, to see if I liked that. And I grayscaled that and played and played. So I'm pondering. That's what I do when I've finished making the base units for a quilt. Stick them all up there if they fit. Sometimes the quilts are too big and they won't fit, so I do a quarter at a time or a section at a time. But I'm pondering now. I put up several different configurations and grayscaled some of them, like I just showed you. And it seems to me like there is no obvious right or wrong way to do this. So I've stuck this layout up now. Here it is. I'm going to sew that one together. It's as good as any other. I have decided that I'm going to have all the geese flying in the same direction rather than one skein going up, one skein going down, because I like the triangle shape that the sky makes. Sometimes all pink, sometimes two different colours, but I like that. I did toy with the idea of having some geese flying sideways, but not for long. So that's the configuration then, and the way that I now proceed is, now how many are there? There are 12 across, that's right, and there are 5 down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's right. There are 5 down. So I now write 1 to 12 on a little piece of paper and pin 1 to column 1, 2 to column 2, and so on. I'm going to do that now. So that, and then I will pin each column together, which means that when I'm sewing them together and they get mixed up, I can put them back together again. But I'm going to do one more thing. When I pressed all of these units so that I could play with them and stick them up and see what was going on, I pressed all the long end in the same direction, which means that when I sew them together now, you can see, can't you, that I don't want too much bulk in that area there. I don't want to be sewing over 2 pieces of fabric here and what amounts to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces of fabric, 8 pieces of fabric there. What a bump that would make in the road. So I'm going to sew 1 seam that way and 1 seam that way, and that's called nesting seams, which means that I am going to take each alternate row when I've numbered them 1 to 12. I'll take 1, 3, 5 and so on, and I will repress those with all the seams going in the opposite direction. Clever, eh? It's just to reduce the bulk around the area of that seam. So that layout will do. I can't play with it anymore. I've had it up and looked at it for a good 24 hours now. There isn't anything else to be gained, I don't think, by designing it differently. I'm happy with it. Although, as I think I said in some comments to some of the people who very generously left comments, about this time of making a quilt, I get pretty sick of it, actually. Pretty sick of it. But can you imagine how sick I got of these? Oh man, there are acres and acres and acres of these. It goes all the way along the whole length of the window. Pretty sick of doing what's called postage stamp quilt. There's another style of quilt that I like to make because it squares. So then I'm going to have my breakfast. I'm sitting, oh, that's blocking Sadie. This is the best spot in the house. So I'm sitting here on the pew, which is the other side of the big table that I work on, just looking at this design board one last time, just to see if there are any tweaks or changes I want to make. I've distributed the blues randomly and the purples randomly. I haven't clumped together a load of pinks so that there's not too many pink triangles, which would have been okay, but there aren't. And as I said, I've got all my geese flying in one direction. I've been outside just now to feed the hens. Filthy weather, pouring with rain. I fed them, collected the eggs, they're all wet and sad looking. Nobody's feeling very happy out there. Cats are all in except Rita, who's out and about somewhere. She's asleep in a tiny corner. I've just been upstairs to look at the seeds in the cat-free room. The tomatoes are coming. The little courgettes are just coming through. So although there's nothing to be done in the garden, things are stirring under the soil. I'm best off in here today sewing all of this together. So we'll get back to you. Hopefully we'll get that quilt top sewn together today. That would be my aim. Have my breakfast now.